How do I meditate and why? First off, I want to start off saying that meditation, like for a lot of people, started as a thing for me to try and gain some control back in my life, especially mentally. But the thing I found was that I kind of had a problem with the stillness and the lack of stimulation, and I'm sure a lot of people are going through this, where they're on their phone a lot and they're constantly consuming media and they're constantly giving into like the instant gratification in all the things they can do. You know what I mean? So when you sit down and meditate for the first time and you've been living your life like that for a while, it feels unnatural, it feels uncomfortable. And one of the things for me is that I didn't like the stillness and the silence. I had to keep moving even a little bit. And then I found after a while that I can't just sit in silence and be present as easy as I want to, because I don't like using meditation to just sit in silence, because I feel like I'm not going anywhere and it's not helping me. My techniques of meditation, my first one started from the book called Radically Happy. It's actually a book I have behind me, and it talks about this idea of clearing space. Now, this idea of clearing space is kind of just saying that it kind of takes a different take on the idea of mindfulness. So, how can I explain this? Your mind is full of thoughts. Your mind is full of thoughts. And you sit down to meditate, and the idea of clearing space is not to get rid of the thoughts that are in your brain, but it's more to make space for them to exist with vastness. I essentially mean that your mind isn't so full once you're able to clear the space, and your thoughts appear smaller then, or they appear less because you have more mental space within you, you know? So this started really with just sitting down and incorporating it 5 days a week and trying to do 5 to 10 minutes a day of meditation, wherein I just sit down, and for me, I envision something from an anime, Demon Slayer. I envision Tanjiro's soul. So Tanjiro's soul is just a completely clear, like, vista, a view, and it goes on endlessly. It's got some clouds and it's got a reflective surface, it's like a watery surface, but it's a reflective thing. So it just seems endless and infinite, and it's very spacious. So for me, that really helped imagine my mind as that space, and it helped me imagine my thoughts within that space and how minuscule they appear to me once I'm in that thing of creating space within my head. You know what I mean? So that was the first technique that I tried for meditation, and that really worked for me. It really did, because I was able to kind of look at my thoughts as a whole and understand that they're just thoughts, they're not beliefs, they're not real, they're not facts. I can choose which ones I let pass by me and which ones I can grab onto. I can make that decision once I cleared that space. So it did kind of give me some mental clarity in that aspect, but I hit a wall with that as well. So the next step in my meditation is kind of subconscious programming. It's from this book called Mind Power, which I have which I might have it behind me. Yeah, this book here, Mind Power, is from that book, and it talks about the idea of progressive phrases. So one of the main examples they use in that book, the most general example, is every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. So you can replace those words with whatever you want. You can change that situationally. So you could say every day, in every way, I'm getting more and more confident. Every day, in every way, I'm getting more and more charismatic. You know, but it's this idea of continual, everyday progress. And it's just a little bit more, but it kind of just primes your brain to be in that space of constant process. You know what I mean? Like understanding that all the things you wish to accomplish in your life come through the process of doing that. You know what I mean? You get the result, that's what you're happy about, but you don't get the result without the process. So I think this was a major thing for me, in that once I started writing down progressive phrases like that and repeating them to myself as kind of mantras within my meditation, and doing meditation in silence as well, that kind of started to help me elevate. And even if it wasn't exactly the phrases that were making the most difference, it was the fact that I was spending the time in the day talking to myself because I wanted to progress that much. I spent time in the day in silence speaking to myself, teaching and coaching myself on how to live and how to conduct myself. You know what I mean? And how I want to improve. Not just improve, but how. You know what I mean? And I think that's an important thing that this type of meditation taught me. It taught me that I can make progress while meditating. You know what I mean? And meditation doesn't have to be the stereotype sitting in silence it doesn't have to be that. You know what I mean? It can, as long as you're meditating within that time, like you're meditating on your thoughts and you're meditating on the present and you're finding some clarity within that moment, or you're on the way to doing so, and that's what your goal is, then you will get there. You know what I mean? But the importance of these two differences in my types of meditation is that I combine them. So sometimes I'll have a clearing space meditation where I need to create more space for my thoughts to feel less heavy. You know, sometimes I'll have a improvement meditation, a progression meditation, which is saying the progressive thoughts to myself, progressive sentences to myself and the phrases that I need to say to improve. Another thing with that method of meditation is also that you can repeat words to yourself. So I chose 4 words of like virtues and like traits I want to have, and I repeated 4 different words to myself over the span of my meditation, and I did the progressive phrases too. So I think I'm not going to sit here and say that speaking to yourself and telling yourself you're this and telling yourself you're that and telling yourself you're improving every day and you do none of the work. I'm not going to say that if you just meditate it's going to get you where you need to go, because that's not true. But it has been such a helpful tool in clarifying where I want to go, how I want to do it, how I want to be when I'm there, when I get the fruits of my labor, how do I want to be? You know what I mean? And just because I've got that, does that mean I want to stop meditating, stop reading, stop working out, stop doing things that are beneficial to me? You know what I mean? Just because you achieve the thing you want to achieve doesn't mean you're finished. You know, if anything, that achievement is just another part in the whole process of your life. You know, and achieving a great life as a whole is the main end result. You know what I mean? All the little achievements before that are part of the process still. You know what I mean? So if you, after every time that you're experiencing something good or something bad, change your whole life, change everything you're doing, yeah? Well then, I personally don't believe in that it's gonna get you there. And what I mean by that is that if you've experienced something successful, like you've experienced some success in your life, and the things you've been doing and the way you've been acting to get to that success changes once you have achieved that success, you won't be able to maintain it. You know, so I think I kind of use meditation as a very important tool to kind of keep me on the right track, understand what kind of mental climate I want to exist in, and understand where I want to go mentally before I get there physically. You know what I mean? Because I feel like everything that happens in your life is a reflection of what you have up here. And if you can more control, understand, and be more aware of what you have in your mind, the better off you're going to be in situations in real life. You know what I mean? Because you understand yourself more, you understand the variables more and how they affect you, and how certain things shouldn't affect you and should affect you, and what you should give meaning to and what you shouldn't. You know what I mean? So I think meditation just all round improves your mental clarity, your calmness. Also, one thing I found with repeating the phrases and the words, so the progressive phrases and the mantras, like the words I would be saying back to myself, is that when I do it, I speak from my stomach. So how can I explain it? I kind of use an abdominal breathing technique. So I don't breathe from my chest. I fully expand my stomach when I breathe in, and I fully deflate my stomach when I breathe out. And so in between each word, I would take a deep breath like that, and I would speak from the end of the breath. So I would speak as I'm letting kind of the air out. You know what I mean? And I'd really I'd speak from also here, and I'd keep my voice as deep as I can at the moment, and I will enunciate every syllable in that word. I will say it slowly, and I will make sure that my brain is absorbing it. Same with the phrases, I do the same thing. And one thing this helped me with is the ability to speak. Actually speaking properly, enunciating your words, and having some projection within your voice, that for me came from meditation. So I don't speak like this normally. When you speak to me, I don't actually speak like this normally. Only on certain topics I get into this kind of flow of speaking. But this kind of skill that I'm cultivating at the moment started with my meditation journey, which started with clearing space, and then it was the subconscious reprogramming through the progressive phrases and the motivational mantras. Or I say motivational, but more virtuous mantras. So the virtues that I wanted to have, I said them back to myself. I engraved them in my brain as something, as if it were a law. You know what I mean? Doing these two types of meditation really helped me gain some calm and some clarity, but also helped me gain clarity in a different way in terms of how I conduct myself outwardly. You know, how I speak to people, and how I speak, and how I use my voice even around myself. You know what I mean? And that made a big difference in terms of phone calls, so cold calling, for example, or talking to people like clients, for example. So in terms of business as well, this has helped me with conducting myself within a meeting. And I just think it's important for people to be able to communicate effectively what is in their mind into the real world. And I think if you can't effectively and clearly understand what's in your mind, how can you clearly express that into the real world? You know what I mean? So the why for meditation for me is because all the reasons I just explained. I believe it to be a massive benefit in a bunch of different areas of life. But all I say is that it's for everyone to try individually. Or maybe you already know it's not for you, but I do think it's worth a shot if you're struggling with some sort of overthinking or anxiety or pressure or disorganization within your brain. Meditation is helpful. I 100% think meditation is helpful. And yeah, that's really all I do. My two different forms of meditation, and it's gotten me to where I am today, and I'm happy for it, and I hope to continue. And yeah, I hope I make another video like this in the future if my ways of meditating ever change.